Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, and that is the 2021 Fantasy Football reigning, defending Yankee and the Brit champion, Maddie.
That's me. Hey guys.
You didn't know that
One
was
intro. I'm gonna
go. Yeah, put you dead on the spot with that. So
I'm gonna go everywhere with that nickname now. That's it. That's the one. We need to get Duffy on here. Mark Duffy, if you're watching this video, then we need to get you on to just talk about as you were the runner-up. I think it's only fair that we get you on.
Yeah, talk about your strategy. You did good, man. He beat the shit out of me one week, and I mean beat the shit out of me. And I think it was. I think
he has like. Sorry.
I was just saying. I think it was a week that Thielen had like almost 30 points, and he still just dog walked me.
I think like it's either him or Bloomdahl, who started off like predicted rating was like 8th, and they both ended up in the playoffs, and I can't remember which one was like predicted at the start of the season like so incredibly low, and then they've just like they got to the playoffs. Like I was predicted like 3rd anyway, so like my rise wasn't that great, but those guys like.
Yeah, and
really
Bloomdahl, I know him personally, good guy. So, yeah, I was like, we were going back and forth, and this is the first time he's ever played fantasy football also, but he's one of those dudes that never forgets a stat. Like, he is ridiculous with stats. He used to be my roommate 18 years ago or 20 years ago. But, yeah, like he's one of those guys, you talk about football, and he'll be like, oh, in 93, Brett Favre went blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, how do you do that? Like, that's – so I needed to get him into fantasy football because I thought he'd do pretty well.
Yeah, he could be our stat guy for this podcast. Like, when we make it big, Jay, get him on as the stat guy, you know? That's
It's funny you said that. I was joking with my niece who gets told all the time that she's just like me. And I said, when we get rich and famous, I'm going to have to pay somebody to do our social media. I said, but it sure can't be you because you'll tell somebody to fuck themselves. All right, Maddie, let's get these power rankings popping because I'm sure we're going to piss some people off. But we're at the part of the year, man, where, like I said a couple weeks ago, it's going to come a time where we're looking at more of, where are these teams going than where they are right now because we're hitting the playoff push. Little different in my head for the rankings, still kind of the same, but with the playoffs 2 weeks away, that has to be, for me, part of the equation.
Yeah, and I think everybody in this top 10 now is a top team and I'm looking at my 10 and I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys won the Super Bowl. I think that's how I'm kind of looking at it now. I think I'm still at the point where it's like, it's who you are right now. So I'm going to get this out of the way straight away. The Tennessee Titans are not on my top 10 power rankings, largely because Henry's still out. We don't know how, he'll be back in 2 weeks, but we don't know how great it'll be when we'll be back. So he's out because that's where they are right now. Their best player is not playing at the minute.
Well,
so
I'm
looking at them and yeah.
That was a hell of a transition. You would think you were a professional because my number 10 team is the Tennessee Titans, which means the Bills are not on my list.
Wow. Yeah, after a big win, the Bills are not on
I know,
list.
But if you're going to come at me, which is fine, anybody who wants to, don't just tell me I'm wrong. Tell me who you would take out. That's what I want to know. And if it's the Titans, fine. That's low-hanging fruit. I get it. But just tell me why you think the Titans are better than the Bills. I love these discussions. Or the Bills are better than the Titans. I love these discussions.
CBS have actually got the Bills as a bigger Super Bowl candidate than the Dallas Cowboys. How much?
Yeah, but
that's mad.
They need to drum up. They need to drum up viewership. I'm just kidding. That's if you go through everybody's power rankings, and I usually look at them after we do ours, they're all over the board. Like, it's so opinion driven and preference that they're all over the board. And a lot of times I'll look and go, wow, we don't even have the exact same top 10, not in order, but I mean, just the top 10 teams, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, my guys in number 10, this is weird to say, is the New England Patriots.
Okay. I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, they're low, right? I want to admit they're low, and it's just I'm worried that we've seen now Mac Jones ceiling, and is Mac Jones ceiling? You have to kind of coordinate a perfect game to get Mac Jones to win the game, and if that's the case, then everybody above them has a better quarterback than the New England Patriots, and I think that's just a fair enough place to put them. Like they've lost two on the bounce now. They've lost in two completely different ways. So they got run off the pitch by the Colts, and then they got thrown off the pitch by the Bills. So it's 10 for me.
Well, no, I agree with what you said, and I think make sure I'm right. What you're saying is, as of this year, everybody is on your list is better than Mac Jones, but you're not saying he can't get any better, because I agree with you. This year, everybody on my list is better than Mac Jones above him, and even one quarterback below him, I believe, is better than Mac Jones on my list. So I just don't want the New England fans to crush you saying that Mac Jones is never going to be better than those guys. That's all.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the stretch of his physical ability. And now it's kind of like the other rookie quarterbacks, their physical ability kind of carries them through a bit further, but they don't have the brain and they're not in the scheme of Mac Jones. Whereas Mac Jones is, the more he's in the NFL and kind of is a sponge, the less he's going to need to compensate for his physical ability. Whereas a Justin Field can just kind of go, well, I'm fucking bigger than strong. I'm bigger and stronger than you. So bye-bye, like that kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas Mac Jones he'll be able to kind of sit in the NFL, sponge off Josh McDaniels, sponge off Bill Belichick, like those kind of guys. Like they've got a good quarterback room, even if it's not the most talented in New England in terms of like brain power and those kind of things. And it just the more coverages he sees, the better he'll get. And in the same way that Tom Brady came into the league, not an athletic specimen, so it's not really affecting him not being athletic at 44, because he's just getting better and better, because the more he sees of the NFL, the more he can just absorb and then get used to.
No, I figured I knew what you meant, but the way it sounded to me like just you took a shot at him, and I didn't think you did, so I just threw that out there quick. Number 9, I got your Cincinnati Bengals.
That's crazy, because at number 9, I have my Cincinnati Bengals. I think that's a really good spot for them at number 9.
That's the guy that I said is better than Mac Jones, but he's behind him in my list.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow is better than Mac Jones, but I have the Patriots ahead of the Bengals.
I would struggle to talk to anybody who had a conversation where Joe Burrow is better than Mac Jones. Like, who thought Mac Jones was better than Joe Burrow, sorry. Like, I would struggle to take that seriously.
There's Patriots fans.
Perfectly honest. Yeah, but that's being a homer. So, like, you don't really... Like, when somebody's being overly a homer, you're just like, all right, like, sure, then I'm not going to change your mind. Like, that's totally fine.
Right.
But a neutral fan, it's very difficult to look at the two of them and say that Joe Burrow is better than... that Mac Jones is better than Joe Burrow. The only thing could be durability, and Joe Burrow's missed no games this season because he snapped his leg last season because he was playing behind the worst offensive line in the league. So
you make a great point, though, because we all can be homers with our team, right? And there's times I will really feel something about the Vikings, but I'll bounce it off you and wait for your response to kind of judge how ridiculous I'm being, because sometimes we see things other people don't see because we're so invested in the team and the players. So sometimes being too close can blind you. And I see it with Patriots fans. Like, I've been seeing Mac Jones MVP and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, but he's probably having the best rookie season of all of the quarterbacks. Like, David Mills is the only one. I think I saw a weird stat where Davis Mills has like 3 or 4 300-yard games, and the rest of the rookie quarterbacks have,
with a bad team too. Davis Mills was on Pat McAfee yesterday, and he was kind of impressive. So, but you know me, I liked him, so I can't wait to see what happens with him.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to kind of go with that, because Mac Jones has been the reason why the Patriots have won some games as well. So Patriots is winning more games. So yeah, so you would say Mac Jones is probably having the best rookie season, even though Davis Mills is putting up some more crazy stats. But obviously, Davis Mills is always playing from behind and always throwing, and his defense can't do anything. So they're always on the pitch at some point. So, I mean, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. But back to the Cincinnati Bengals, their offense just fires. They seem to play well in their big divisional games. They're a bit hit and miss, and I think that's down to sometimes their offensive line isn't as good as it should be, and a few more pieces on defense. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did, just because of the immense amount of talent and how explosive that offense is.
Yeah, and everybody watched what happened with the Giants twice. If you just get hot at the right time, you can win the whole tournament. And that I know people don't like to hear it. It's the playoffs. It's really a tournament. You earn your way into an end-of-the-year tournament to see who's the champ. And if you get hot, I played hockey. You just have to get hot in a tournament. And you can win that whole thing. So,
yeah, and sort out your facilities. And Joe Burrow's the face of your franchise for 15 years. So get behind that and get new fans to the arena, those kind of things. And from what I've seen, Cincinnati is quite a loyal fan base and a really knowledgeable fan base as well. Whenever I've spoken to them about the Bengals, like they're one of the few where they don't have that kind of homer thing that we've been talking about. But yeah, they'll argue and they'll say, yeah, we get that we're shit, because obviously they've been shit for quite some time. But like, you know, I mean, just a few more pieces and they'll be a Super Bowl contender next season as well.
And before we move on to number 8, let's go Cincinnati Bearcats. Let's stick it to Alabama. Let's go. All right. That's tomorrow, guys. Check it out. Playoffs, college playoffs start. I can't wait. Incredible
that they're in the final of the playoffs in college football.
Huge.
By the way.
It took them a few years of being good to even get recognized as a small school. It's huge. I love it. And they're probably going to get walked by Alabama, but so what?
Incredible that they're there.
Well, at number 8, Maddie, I got Mac Jones and the Patriots. So he wasn't much higher than where you put him. So
yeah, I think that's probably quite a fair spot for them. I think that's where they realistically are. But the way that I do this is where you are now. And if you're on a 2-game losing streak, then you're naturally going to slide. I can't put you in front of the Cincinnati Bengals, who have just smashed their division rival, the Ravens. And I can't put you in front of it. Yeah. Well, I can't put you in front of a team who, and I know you did this as well, but I'm going to struggle to put them in front of a team that just beat them by 11 points. And that's my number 8 team, the Buffalo Bills. And
I don't even have Bills in the top 10.
Yeah, they're there because of their coaching and their quarterback, and that's it. And we know they don't have a run game, and we know they're missing some play calling spots, but Sean McDermott's defense is firing, and Josh Allen's a freak. So, yeah, they just need to find a run game, and that's it. They'll be right as rain.
I don't disagree with the fact that they can do some things. I think they're weak at positions that are going to hurt them in the playoffs. Yeah. But again, Josh Allen can throw it all over the field. So, I mean, to make it to the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be almost impossible but without a running game. But to go in and win a playoff game, Josh Allen can definitely do that for you.
Yeah, 100%.
What, number 7, a team that has just been skying the wrong way down my power rankings, and that would be the Arizona Cardinals at number 7.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. They are just on a downward trend at the minute. The wheels are kind of falling off. I've got the opposite, where a team is starting to find its wheels, find itself, and even with injuries to a top left guard and a reckless QB, they still managed to find their way to win. The Indianapolis Colts in at number 7 for me.
Okay. Little low for me, but okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think they've still got injuries. Their quarterback's completely reckless. Like they don't have the most talented weapons on the pitch. They just have one unbelievably talented weapon in Taylor, and that's kind of it. But they also have a fantastic defense, and that offensive line with Quinton Nelson coming back into it is elite. And Carson Wentz is good enough to win you games if he really has to, but I'd rather not ask him to win me games, because when you ask him to win you games, he breaks both ankles or throws 3 picks or that kind of guy.
Yeah, just ride the best running back in football.
Yeah, and one of the best offensive lines in football. Yeah.
Yeah. Quinton Nelson test positive for COVID, so it's questionable if he'll be able to play. But with the new NFL protocols, you don't have to pass the test anymore. You just have to have less symptoms than you had. So, okay,
as long
they're
as
just
you were
making
vaccinated.
sure they're making sure nobody misses playoff games with these new protocols because they're only testing on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then it's 5 days. And if you have less symptoms, you can play. Yeah. So
only if you're vaccinated. So they're also encouraging play. Is it right? That's just fucking ridiculous. But never mind then.
No, it's everybody. But yeah, I thought it was
wow.
But it's our CDC changed the going back to work guidelines. So the NFL jumped on them right away because then guys aren't going to miss games.
Right. Well, I thought it was to do with getting more people to be vaccinated, but never mind. Anyway, okay. Quinton Nelson will be back. He'll be in the run for the playoffs. Carson Wentz will be back. He'll be in the run for the playoffs. Like they're a team that I'm very happy that I'm in the NFC and not the AFC and don't have to come across the Colts in the first round.
Well, I just heard today if Carson Wentz doesn't have worse symptoms, he gets to play Sunday.
Yeah, that's mental because he's unvaccinated. But anyway.
All right. Well, on to number 6. The Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL. No respect, no respect, no respect. Dallas Cowboys, they get no respect. They're my number 6 team. You give me the glare. I see it.
6.
Wait till you see the teams I have in front of them. Who am I going to replace them with?
6. Well, I know you've got the Colts in front of them, so that's one team. But anyway, it's absolutely nonsense. Anyway, at my number 6, I have the Arizona Cardinals on the downward trend. I believe, like you do, that the wheels are falling off. The Dallas Cowboys at 6. They're rising up your list, which is nice. And if they beat the Arizona Cardinals this week, it proves that they can beat a good team and they'll be skyrocketing through, which is totally fine. I understand why you have them at 6. I'm probably just jumping on the bandwagon a little bit with where I've got them.
Well, I want to be completely fair. I do think they can beat good teams. I just think they got to go do it. Like, I think they can.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of those guys on the internet going, you can't do it and blah. No, I think they got all the talent in the world. So just go do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I understand that we're in probably one of the easier divisions in the NFC, but we've also got the hardest record in that division in the NFC, where we've had to play the New England Patriots, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we've had to play the Kansas City Chiefs. We're 8-1 inside our conference. Like, if the Packers lose one game and we win out, we're the first seed in the NFC. So it's a bit like putting them in at 6 is a bit low, but I understand what you mean.
In the NFC, the only fan base that's doing better than you is the Packers. So there's a lot of just hate coming. Where I'm trying to say, I'm not a hater, but I'm just not a complete believer yet as the people who are going to attack me. I'm not your regular Cowboys hater. I just will hate on all.
That's 100% true, everybody. He is not your regular Cowboys hater because, like, at least he has some genuine points when he's talking about why they can't. Like, yeah, let's watch him do it. Let's make sure that Dak's ankle is okay. Like, Dak's calf is okay because Dak's calf being okay against the Washington football team and they're being depleted. I totally get it, but you know, if they play really well against the Cardinals.
I don't care who they're playing. This is what I wanted to see.
Yeah. And that's hopefully what we'll see on Sunday. But anyway, number 5. Who's your number 5, Jay?
The team you shit on me for having above the Cowboys, the Indianapolis Colts at number 5.
Actually, they're second in their division behind the Tennessee Titans team who haven't had Derrick Henry. I understand the Titans. I understand they'll probably finish towards the end, but they're in a wild card.
Colts are doing this. Titans are doing this.
Yeah, I mean they're in a wild card spot at the moment, whereas the Dallas Cowboys are one game off the top spot in the NFC. I get it.
I might be a homer a little because of Jonathan Taylor.
He's an incredible running back, and I agree with you. They're definitely on an upward trend. I understand what you mean.
Hey, we're only 2 off, though, if you think about it. We're only 2 teams off.
Yeah, we're just quite a lot off on the team that you've got below them is all. But
Okay,
the Indianapolis Colts are a team that are definitely on an upward trend, and with their players all coming back as well, they're getting fit at the right time, they're getting hot at the right time. They're really not a team that you want to meet in the playoffs 100%. And a team you also don't want to meet in the playoffs as long as they're healthy are the Los Angeles Rams.
Ooh, this is where we have the biggest discrepancy,
Yeah.
but that's okay because I think a lot of it. Well, tell me why you got the Rams before I ramble on.
I understand why they should be higher. Matt Stafford threw 3 picks and them still winning.
And should have been 5.
Yeah, them still winning is very impressive. But if he throws 3 picks in the playoffs, they'll lose. Cam Akers is coming back to being healthy, so that's good for them. A miracle recovery. OBJ doesn't look like he's too hurt. Like they're still going to do bits in the playoffs, but Matt Stafford threw 3 picks last week. And when you get into the way that I'm looking at my top 5, they can all easily beat each other. And like when your quarterback throws 3 picks, then that's what's going to make you lose out to the other teams that are above them.
Okay, that's all fair.
I still think he's great.
I have them higher because I'm riding that defense. I just think that defense is going to smack you in the mouth every game, and that offense has enough weapons to stay in it. And Cooper Kupp, right now this year, you can argue what you want career-wise. Right now this year, best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I heard a really interesting rumor about Cooper Kupp. I'm not sure where I heard it. It might have been here, but you might have told me this, and we might have said it already. But I'm pretty sure I heard it somewhere on YouTube. That Cooper Kupp wears like darker boots, like he wears like blue boots that match with his socks because on TV and on tape that makes him look a bit slower, and it kind of like it makes him look slower. And then he's got that whole white guy playing wide receiver demeanor. So then the cornerback's like, oh, I've got the gas on Cooper Kupp. He looks slow as shit, and then you run against him and you get taken down the field for a long one because you're not expecting him to be that quick and you're not playing so deep. Anything to get ahead. I'm sure it's just a rumor and a load of bullshit, but anything to get ahead in the NFL, you know?
Shit, if it works, I'd do it. Like, even if I thought it might work, I'd do it. You know, like any little advantage you can get because these are extremely top athletes, everybody on that field. So, like, I always joke with my wife that you and I and a bunch of other people sit around and literally judge people on shit we can't do, right? Yep. I said the only thing we got going for us is we're judging them against their peers and not ourselves, you know? So,
yeah, we're much nicer. We're much nicer than some other people about. We always say, by the way, we know we couldn't do this shit, no matter who it is, no matter who it is. Even when I'm slagging off Carson Wentz for being reckless, I have no fucking clue how to play quarterback, really. So I would probably throw them into those ridiculously tight windows. The difference is with mine can't go 50 yards down the field. They can only go about maybe 10 if I'm really rinsing into it.
Well, Maddie, at number 4, I got the reigning defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I almost put them lower.
At number 4, I have the reigning Super Bowl champion, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're playing really well, and they got a good win. A lot of injuries, so that's why they're below the teams that are above them. I just think they've just got a few injuries, and if they keep showing that they can play without those injuries, because it's clear that Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski are the guys that make them tick over, and they're the guys that have just come into playing again. So maybe it's not really going to affect them having Evans and Godwin out, but with players like Evans, Godwin, mix them together there, smash them together. Evans, Godwin, and Fournette out, then you've got to say you've got some serious injuries there in some seriously important positions to their team. So a little lower, but obviously they're still at number 4, which I can still see them being amongst the favorites to be a Super Bowl champion.
Well, yeah, I can definitely see them playing in the NFC Championship game for sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can see that.
100%.
At number 3, for me, it's the top hottest team in the AFC right now with the Kansas City Chiefs.
For me, at number 3, it's the hottest defense in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys, in at number 3. And the reason that I've got them number 3 is that their defense is something to be seriously feared. Like, I think they're the highest scoring defense in terms of fantasy football this year. And I know fantasy football doesn't always equate to wins, but the fuckers are scoring like 20. They're averaging like around 14 points in fantasy football. That means they get a lot of takeaways. It means they haven't got many points scored on them in the past few weeks. They've got Micah Parsons, who possibly could be going for, he's defensive rookie of the year, and he's also could be going for defensive player of the year. Trayvon Diggs. Sanders came out and said how ridiculous it is that Diggs isn't being mentioned for defensive player of the year as well. And Sanders, I don't necessarily agree with him with this, was saying you need to have different MVP competitions if you're just going to give them to a quarterback all the time, if you're not recognizing Trayvon Diggs' ability to change the game. The two of them are doing things that haven't been done for some time. And also you have the D-Law, Randy Gregory, Anthony Brown's playing quite well. The safeties have played really well this year, and I don't think they've got a lot for them. So I just want to highlight this defense as a reason that I think they could definitely take it all the way in the playoffs and why they're at number 3. I think the Kansas City Chiefs at number 3 is, a good spot for that. You may have noticed I haven't said their name yet either, so we're clearly quite close on that.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with the Cowboys at 3. I don't, because like we were saying, this is a big mix. To me, I did a lot of who do I think is going to make a big push in the playoffs, and it wasn't the shit on the Cowboys. I just think the Colts in the AFC, little weaker, best running game in football. But it wasn't to take a shit on the Cowboys, which I know everybody thinks that's what you do anytime you say anything. So, but Packer fans are the same way. The second you say something about the Packers, you just are a fucking hater. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's also weird. The Packer fans are weird in the sense as if you compliment their greatest player of all time, Aaron Rodgers, and one of their greatest players of all time. I understand they've had a lot of great players, but if you compliment them, then they'll hate you for that as well. So there's not really much you can do to please the Packers fans.
And outside everybody who's not a Packer fan, is the second you freaking praise Rodgers a little, it's the Packers, the Cowboys. There's a handful of teams where as soon as you comment, their fan base, Philly fan base, but that's the one fan base where you can compliment your team, and Philly will tell you we're a moron because their team sucks. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, at number 2, which I guess it's going to shock you if you haven't figured it out yet, but I have the Los Angeles Rams coming in at number 2.
I just think it's a big jump when you like this top 5-6 teams, like they're that's the bubble, isn't it? That's the top favorite to win the Super Bowl. This top 7 will include the top 7 where you have the Cardinals at 7 and I have the Colts. These 7 are the real Super Bowl bubble. They're the real Super Bowl contenders. So whichever way around you've got them, and for whatever reason, is totally fine. The Rams are starting to come into good health, which they haven't been all season. So that's a big deal for them.
Well, part of my thing was I asked myself, if I had to pick one team and they were playing each other, who am I picking? Rams or Chiefs, which is a hard question, right? But I'm like, I want the Rams defense with Stafford. No, Stafford is not Patrick Mahomes, but that Rams defense is out of this world, and Stafford can move a ball. And then I did the same thing with the Bucs and with all the injuries. And yes, they had a great win, but they had some shaky weeks before. I think the Rams could take the Bucs too. That's just my justification for having the Rams at number 2.
Yeah, whereas I think differently in the fact that the Chiefs are the hottest team in the AFC. They're going to get the bye. It looks like they're going to get the bye week, which will be big for them. They've got Patrick Mahomes, which is always going to help you. We're going to be talking about our top 5 greatest coaches, and Andy Reid, I would hope, is probably on the list for both. He's definitely on my list. There's a spoiler right now. He's on my list. We'll see if he's on Jay's later on. And their defense, it's not like it's as shabby as we all thought it would be at the start of the season. Their defense has sorted itself out and started to learn how to play football. So the Kansas City Chiefs are my number 2 team, and at number 1 for whatever week it is now running. And I believe they are on a downturn, which kind of shows how far ahead they were at the start of when we were putting them at number 1. They've had a few rough games, but they're still at the top of the NFC. The Green Packers are
I know that writers do not want to give Aaron Rodgers the MVP because of all the COVID shit in the offseason, like shit. He's almost making it impossible not to vote for him right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. This. Who else are you going to pick? Because it would have been easy for them if Kyler Murray didn't get injured and just kept on going like it was before. Well, no.
It's him or Jonathan Taylor, right? But the quarterback always is way above the running back. So for me right now, it's Rodgers, Jonathan Taylor, and then insert whoever you want in third. But I feel like when it's a running back going up against a quarterback, besides that great year Adrian Peterson have here, they're always going to give it to the quarterback.
Yeah, the only way that I could see it changing is if Rodgers loses against Minnesota. But who have they got the last week? They've got Detroit as well, don't they? So two difficult divisional games, but they should win them both. But I've picked the Vikings to win. You've picked the Vikings to win the last one. So they lose this game. The Colts win out with Taylor running for 200 yards in both games. Maybe they could cite that as a reason, but that would be the only way. And how likely does that look to happen? As much as I'm praying that the Packers lose this game, because then the Cowboys get the bye, and I think the Cowboys could definitely do with the bye more than the Packers. Yeah, I don't see any other choice but putting the Packers at number one, really.
If you guys win, you play Sunday, right? So if you guys win on Sunday night, every Cowboys fan in the fucking world is cheering for the purple and gold.
I'll go insane. I will.
But every Cowboys fan is a Vikings fan Sunday night if you guys win.
Yeah. Are you the late kickoff on Sunday?
Yeah, 7:20. It's going to be about 17 below your temperature. Yeah.
That's Vikings football. Like, honestly, that. Yeah. Are you going out? Are you joining in the street party? Going outside?
I don't do cold weather, man. I hibernate.
Living just outside of Green Bay. Go show your colors. Really piss off some Green Bay fans.
When it's nice out, or like Thursday night football, we've went down there and tailgated and that kind of stuff. The older we get, me and my wife don't do the cold so well. That's why we're in the process of, like, at some point in the nearest future, we're going to be living in the desert.
Not fancy taking some cheese graters out there or anything like that. Also,
hey, I got to put this out there. Them thieving bastards. That's a Brewers thing that the Packers stole. I just had to put that out there.
It's one of the lamest things I've ever seen. If you saw a British football team doing that, like, they'd get the shit kicked out of them, like most weeks. All right, enough about that. Let's finish this off.
All right, guys. Well, you got our top 10 power rankings. Come at us. Let us know what you think. And you can check us out on Spotify and all that other good shit. And if you're bored, just go subscribe on YouTube. Help us out.
Yeah, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, because that'll tell you when we release shit. If you're on Facebook, it doesn't tell you when we release shit. But if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and you subscribe to us, you'll know when we release shit. And you'll be able to support us all the time. And you don't have to listen to idiots like Colin Cowherd and Skip Bayless before finding our stuff.
Also, if you like podcasts better, because of the upload speed of everything, the podcast goes up about 6 hours before the video. So you'll be the first one to get to it if you want to be like one of the people, the first ones to hear us.
That's the way to go. And just to leave everybody on a positive, Sunderland have just gone up 1-0 against Sheffield Wednesday. The mighty Sunderland, we're going up. Anyway, that's what I'm leaving it on.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.